Ukwa is the local name for African breadfruit, a nutritional meal that comes in both its original state, a solid food, and as a snack, all products of Phronesis foods. Interestingly, we place a premium on quality from peeling to selection to dehydrating to packaging and delivery. The nutritional value of Ukwa includes a great source of energy from over 60 grams of carbohydrates contained in 1 cup of Ukwa. It helps to regulate blood sugar. Ukwa aids digestion. Order any or a combination of our variants today, whether it is the roasted, ready to cook, or Ukwa poundo to the tune of 25,000 naira only, and get a free shipping to your doorstep. For inquiries, please call 0908 583 6587 or log on to www.phronesisfoods.ng.
Hey guys, so finally we have the Ukwa woman in our presence today. I know that by watching that video you were salivating and feeling like you should be eating Ukwa, right? So today we have the person, the brain behind that Ukwa that you have been salivating to eat. Look at how beautiful she is. I don't know, maybe we eat the Ukwa and eat her at the same time too. That's how I'm feeling right now, to eat the Ukwa at the same time, eat the person who
Well, you have been
all right,
part
guys.
and
Is that what?
I mean, you in particular have been a fan of what we're doing, and you have been a great support and a customer.
Yes,
So anything
yeah.
for you. If you want us to expand Ukwa porridge to Port Harcourt for you, we have been able to do that.
All right, guys. So today, as we said, today is Young and Earning, and we have the amazing Chichi Eriobu in our midst today. She is the one on the seat that we'll be having a conversation with. As you all know, Young and Earning is all about how to change the narrative about learning for young individuals. Earning for young individuals by bringing the spotlight on amazing young individuals who are doing great work in different industries. We have put the spotlight on individuals who are frying akara, those who are doing moi moi, those who are doing pap. In different things. Those who are doing fashion, those who are doing makeup. It's been amazing for the past 16 days. Today is the 17th day, and we have showcased 16 amazing young individuals. Today is the 17th one, and we have 4 more to go, and we'll call it a wrap on Young and Earning Summit. So today we have Chichi Eriobu, and we are glad to have her in our midst to come to share with us her journey, the things that she's doing, the amazing work, how she's building this phenomenal brand, the Phronesis Foods, that specifically focuses on Ukwa. So we are here to have this beautiful conversation, and I know that as we listen to what she's got to share with every one of us here, she will release great nuggets that will help you to build your own businesses. Now, Chichi, I'm remembering when I came to your office. Remember when you had something like this, when you were interviewing me, you were on the other side interviewing me. Now I'm the one interviewing you, so it's like 1-1 now, right?
Yes.
So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So let's dive into.
Thinking about that was in 2017.
Yeah, that's 2017. Yes.
That was in 2017. Yeah, wow. That's like 5 years ago now. Amazing. Hello? I think my internet is hanging or something.
Gigi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, network. Sorry. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. You were saying something.
Yeah, I was saying that was 5 years ago, 2017.
Yeah.
And to think that so much has happened since that time, actually.
Yes.
You personally, you have made tremendous progress since then. Look where we are now. Amazing. Amazing.
Thank you. Okay, so let's dive straight into it. Beautiful Saturday. So Chichi, everybody wants to hear from you. I know people have been itching to hear from you how you started out this great brand. When I knew you for the first time, you were not doing this. You were doing something else. Although in business, you intervene people who are doing amazing in their businesses, but now you are the center of it, you're in the heat of it, and you're building an amazing brand for yourself. So go ahead and tell us from childhood up until now what the Chichi brand stands for, what the Phronesis brand stands for, and then we will go into asking you deeper questions that can elicit more gems for us. Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for having me. Um, I mean, there was no how I would have said no to this, primarily because I respect Emeka so much and I have learned so much from him. And somehow my journey is not somehow, my journey actually is not rocket science. I think my journey is a journey of, there is an adage in Igbo people that says that a chicken that would be, um, a chicken that would be great, something like a chicken that would be great, you would know right from when that chicken is small. And I said that because part of what I'm living now, a huge part of what my life is made up of now, were not by chance. None of them is by chance. I mean, I met Emeka when I was interviewing other young entrepreneurs. At that time, when I met him, actually, that was also the period that we were running. We ran the first 2 years we called business modeling stage of Phronesis Foods. However, I come from a family of business people. My dad owned a wholesale and retail electronics company in Onitsha. My mom had been in business. At least 3 or 4 of my siblings are currently in business now. Um, so I basically come from a family of business people, but I wouldn't, however, tell you that building Phronesis Foods right now was something I wanted to do many years back when I was a child. I mean, I wanted to be in the media. Part of why I used to be the one doing what Emeka is currently doing. And I wouldn't even say I used to be, I am still that one because I love media so much. I love opera. Opera is my model when it comes to media. I wanted to be the person to do what opera is doing, and I would still do it. But media is my key interest from childhood. Also, the reason why I studied mass communication in school. I loved the fact that I could be the person on the other side to control narrative, to interview other people, to be in front of camera. I love to be in front of camera, maybe not necessarily limelight. There's nothing wrong with being in the limelight, but I loved being in front of camera, which is why even up until now, I still host red carpet shows. I still anchor events and moderate, but strictly for, sometimes I limit it strictly for business related events, and I have to extremely know who the organizer is. And yeah, because I also have a brand to protect. So I have always loved media. So my background is media. My background is mass communication. I loved everything about it. I loved to be on radio. I loved to be on TV. Um, I used to have a dream as a child, and when I'm talking about a dream, I mean real time, go to bed, sleep dream, where I would wake up, and in that dream, I see myself standing in front of a large crowd, trying to address people, trying to speak to people, a large crowd. It was a dream I used to have constantly as a child. And then, aside mass communication, I also had interest to study international relations and law. But then, circumstances, and here we are. However, um, I had a background that prepared me to what I'm doing now. And that background is the business I'm currently doing is something my mother had retailed for more than 35 years, actually. My mom had retailed okra for as long as I can remember. So my mom used to be one of the people that when you go into, for some of you that know Ochanja Market in Onitsha, go into Ochanja Market and say you want to buy okra, you can easily find my mom there. So many people know me as Nwanwa Anyokwa. That's the daughter of an Okwa woman. right? And if you have my mom's phone number, there's a high chance that you dial it on Truecaller and it brings out wine or something that serious. So, um, but before I transitioned into running Phronesis Foods, I had done many other businesses, and I can't even tell you. I think top of my head, I can remember at least 5 or 6. Right, I had done clothes selling. I had sold clothes, like go to boutique, pick up clothes that they have in boutique, and go. That time I was a student, and then mark up the prices and then sell to lecturers and students in school. I graduated from IMT Enugu, and then aside from selling clothes, I did recharge card business. You'll be shocked what I did. I sold recharge card business. I would go to sub distributors of these recharge cards here in Lagos and buy from them. Profit margin on top of it at that time, about 2013, yeah, thereabouts, about 2 naira, 3 naira, thereabout. So I sold recharge card. I did hotel amenities businesses, that's supplying of this lotion and small soaps that are used in hotel. I would trek the whole of Balogun market looking for them. I would trek the whole of there's this other market in Lagos Island that I would trek looking for this. I would make calls. Those that have contacts would look at me as a competitor. They would not reach. So it was a whole lot of. And then I did event planning, and I did event planning for about 2 3 years thereabout, I think. And a bulk of the time I was struggling. I wasn't sure what to do. Yeah. So I had to say that because I mean I understand that a lot of times as young people, we dabble into a lot of things before we eventually find the ones that maybe clicked. Some people say find the one that clicked. Sometimes it may take you 10 years to continue to dabble, but I think what eventually saved me was in the midst of all the errors and trying to find myself, I had God, right? I had to come to a point where I had to tell myself that, see, enough of dabbling into Rishi. It's time to ask God, what exactly does He want me to do? What is that one thing that I would go into it, even though I'm going to have challenges also doing it, because there is no sector, there is no venture, there is no career path. There's nothing that you want to do in this life that does not have challenges. But mine was, what is this thing that God wants me to do, that irrespective of challenges that I would experience, I would still stay on the path. So I first started the idea to run Phronesis Foods first started in 2016. I remember specifically how it happened. I think I've shared the story a few times, but I remember I had a friend that came in from Malaysia. We served together, came in from Malaysia. We met up here in Lagos, and no, yeah. So so we were hanging out with some of our friends somewhere in Lekki, and I remember that we were spending money. These guys were spending money. I mean, we would book let apartments in Lekki for 1 month, and they were spending money. And then I would visit, and I'm seeing bills upon bills of what they have paid. And I remember engaging my friend in conversation, and I said, "Wow, the way you guys are spending money, like the money is not gonna finish." And then we would laugh about it. He would not give me details because, you see, one of the things I learned when I was struggling during my struggling days is that not a lot of people are willing to give you tips of what helped them to make money. Yeah. So we would laugh about it, make jokes about it, but he would not give me details and say, or point me to somewhere and say, this is how I made this money, this is how you can make your own money. No, nothing like that. So I remember on a particular evening where we were lounging, the guys went out and all the ladies went out, and it was just me in the room. And then I was asking myself, this was just the same way I'm having this conversation. And then I was asking myself, so what next, Chichi? How long are you going to continue to spend another person's money? When is it going to be your money that people are going to spend? This was real-time conversations. And then I sat up from the bed and I walked towards the restroom, and I stood, like when you're having a sober reflection, like you would find in Nollywood movies. I went to the mirror in the restroom and I stood in front of me, and I was looking at myself and I was asking myself, how long do you want to be small? In front of the mirror, I was looking at myself and I was asking myself, see, Chichi, how long do you want to be small? How long do you want to be the one spending other people's money? Isn't it time for people to spend your money? I mean, how old was I at that time even? And then I went back to the room and I sat down and I now moved the conversation from having the conversation and sober reflection over the mirror to me speaking with God now. And then I began to say, see, God, I have tried everything. I was voicing out my thoughts, not in my head. It wasn't in my head, I was voicing it out. I said, see, God, I have tried everything and none of them has worked. I am tired of trying. What more have I not tried? No. I was saying I have tried everything. And then I heard a feedback, like someone was sitting beside me and I could hear it loud and clear. I said, no, you haven't tried everything. I said, but I have tried everything. He said, no, you haven't tried everything. There's one more thing you haven't tried. And I was like, so what is it that I haven't tried? He said, you haven't tried your mother's business. I was having conversation with God and I was hearing him. He was hearing me. It was just the both of us in that room. I couldn't see him, but I knew there was someone because, you know, and then I said, but that's my mother's business. What does that have to do with me? He said, well, you haven't tried it. You said you have tried everything, but you haven't tried your mother's business. So, and then I said, but that's my mother's business. It has nothing to do with me. He said, it has everything to do with you. And then he said, you were born into this business. You know all the market gaps. You can as well start filling in solutions for the market gaps. I had to keep quiet because one key thing about me, I know how to listen. I am one person that I have the skill of listening. I have listening skills. I can keep quiet and I hear loud and clear what the instruction is and I will execute it the way it was given. So I kept quiet. At this point in time, it was learning moment. So, and he said, you were born into this business, you know all the market gap. You can as well just start by filling the market gaps. So I kept quiet. So I thought about it for a moment. So I have a habit, prior to that time, I still have that habit to carry a notepad and a biro in my bag. I always carry a notepad and a biro in my bag. I know that the digital age has made us to have mobile phone so that, and we have notepads on our mobile phone, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's not the same thing, but this is something I grew up with. Actually, I learned it from Pastor Chris. This is something I grew up with as a Christian. I go to bed with a notepad and biro somehow in my handbag. You must always find notepad and biro because there's always something, an idea, something for me to write down. I could wake up in the middle of the night and start writing down ideas or strategies. Anywhere you find me, be sure. If I don't have a physical notepad and biro, be sure that my notepad app on my phone is always open. So at this point, I picked up my notepad and my biro. I began to write. Okwa business, the problems I saw. I didn't write for so much, so I dropped it. And then I started praying. Now, there is something that happens every time God gives an idea, right? Devil also gives an idea. And it would also not be a bad idea. It's also a good idea, as good as God's idea is. But you have to be able to differentiate the both of them and understand the time and the season. So I think within 24 or 48 hours after the idea for Okwa came, the idea for interviewing other entrepreneurs came. It was not a bad idea, right? But you have to understand. What I eventually understood it to be was, it was not a bad idea, but it was a distraction at that time. I needed to have focused on what God had given me to do, which was begin to provide, to fill in the market gaps for okwa as a raw material. However, within a short period of time, this is me, like within 48 hours after this idea and conversation with God, this is me thinking about hosting interviews and interviewing other young entrepreneurs. So what happened? I moved from also knowing that I'm starting an okwa business to now also advertise. So there's something I would usually do. Immediately I concluded that I was going to start the okwa business. I went straight to Facebook and wrote, hey, everyone, guess what? Your girl is starting an okwa business. Get ready to patronize me, blah, blah, blah. You know, I haven't fixed price. I haven't done anything. I mean, nothing. I just talked about the fact that I was starting an Okwa business. Within 48 hours, the idea to run interviews for young entrepreneurs came. It was an amazing idea. Exactly what Emeka is doing now. But it was not my time at that time. That time was not the time. It was distraction. So anyway, I picked up my phone. I thought about it. It made a lot of sense. It seems like something I can easily do because I like camera. Because you see, because when the devil wants to get your attention, he would also get your attention with something you are interested in. It will not be something you are not interested in. I loved to be in the media, and he knew that I loved to be in the media. He knew that this thing interests me. So he dangled it in front of me, and I took both God's idea and I also took the other one. So, and I needed to find who is going to be my first guest on the show. Boom, I have someone already. I mean, this one was easy. It seemed very easier. I spoke to my friend that runs that was running a bakery business at that time. 6 years to when I interviewed her, or 4 years to when I interviewed her, she was making I think about 6 million naira annually in being a baker. So her story sounded interesting. I picked it up, called a friend of mine to go with me as a moral support. The difference between what I was doing and what Emeka was doing was me. I was going to the offices and the homes of the people I was interviewing to interview them. My money, I was spending my own money. None of them were paying me a dime. I would pay money. I would book I would book Uber or Bolt, whichever one, book cab. I would show up at their place. I would go back. I was spending money. Now, why this was happening, don't forget that there is an idea to do Okwa business. And then I got my first customer eventually for Okwa business. A friend of mine attended an event, Chinon Sobogo, and I was the moderator for that event. I was holding microphone. I was moderating the event, and in the midst of moderating the event, I said over the microphone, hey everyone, when I'm not moderating an event, I'm selling Okwa. So just in case you need Okwa, blah, 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 you can holler at me. This is my phone number, and the rest of that and the rest of that. Event ended, everybody went home. It was a business event. I think 2 or 3 days later, I got our first customer for dried Okwa. At that time, the only thing I had done was to call my mom and say, you know what? I know that you've been doing this business. I want to try it. I know I live in Lagos. A lot of people don't have access to Okwa. I can try. So, and then, no. Okay. Let me take it back a bit. I first got an investor. This is how I got an investor for the Okwa business, right? After the idea came, I attended another business event somewhere in Oriental Hotel, I think, and I was moderating a session. It was about business funding and investment. I didn't know a whole lot at that time about funding, about business. I didn't know nada. I attended this event, another event different from the one where I announced to everyone that I sell Okwa. So I attended this. They were talking about investments and funding. After the event, one of the speakers in the panel that I moderated is a venture capitalist. So we got into a conversation, and I shared my idea with him. And he said, "Oh, it sounds interesting. Come to my office on so day. Let's talk about it." We fixed an appointment, and I showed up in his office. We sat over a table. I remember this conversation very, very well. We sat over a table, and he said, "Okay, so tell me about your idea." I said, Okwa is a raw material that is seasonal. I know about this product so well. My mother has been retailing it for more than 30 years, this and that and this and that. He said, "Okay, so you know what we're going to do? Go home, drop an MOU. I will fund your business." Oh, I said, "Okay. Oh, is it this easy to get money?" He said, do your calculations and let me know what your startup capital is. Trust me, I don't know the meaning of startup capital. I went home and did something that looked like an MOU. I sent it to a lawyer friend of mine who currently is a company lawyer, by the way. And I sent it to him. I said, look at this, look at that. Do you think this is okay? Do you think I should send this? The wordings, did I get it right? And he guided me. I put it together and I sent this investor. According to that paper, my startup capital for the Okwa business was supposed to be 240,000 naira. I sent him the document. Over email, we talked about it. And then at that time, I only had company name. Phronesis Food had not been registered. But I already wrote down, when the idea came, I already wrote down the name of the company, the name I wanted the company to be. I will tell you about how the company name came about much later. But when I got home, I drew up the MOU and I sent to him. He looked at it and he said, I don't know any Phronesis Foods. I know Chichi Eriobu. At that time, Phronesis Foods had not been registered. We didn't have any CSC registration. And he said, I don't know any Phronesis Foods. I know Chichi Eriobu, so I'm giving my money to Chichi Eriobu. So he gave me 50% of the 240K, which is 120K. I went home. I called my mother over the phone. I said, I'm starting Okwa business. So she sent products down to me. When she sent product down to me, the product was in my house. I lived in a one-room self-contained apartment. One corner of my house is storage. The other corner of my house is office, official office made up of a white table and a white chair. All the walls of my room were painted in block forms, white, pink, because I wanted it to look beyond to also have the feel of a workspace other than just a living space. So my bed is on one corner. I wake up from my bed, brush, go to the storage corner, do the selection process for Okwa. I go to the table, do whatever I have to do on my laptop. So that's how my room is demarcated. Another corner has wardrobe. Before I attended Chinonso's event where I moderated another event. So at that Chinonso's event, I announced that I sell Okwa and I got our first customer. When I bought the product and did all of that, pitched the investor, there was not one customer. I hadn't even sold anything to anyone. Now we got our first customer and she was excited. Good, somebody is doing Okwa in Lagos, amazing. She's not an Igbo woman, but she's married to an Igbo man, Mommy Modupe Ehirim. And then she calls me, she buys our product. And I looked at it, I said, okay, if one person can buy, 5 people can buy. And I was the one that did the selection process. I did the packaging. I did the delivery to her doorstep on my 2 feet. I got to her house, handed over the product, collected money, or she did transfer to my personal account. I was also using my personal account to run business. There was no company account, if I remember correctly. And then that was how it started. But remember, there was also the interview that I was hosting that nobody asked me. That was it was a good thing, but it was a pure distraction. Every good thing that comes our way, every good idea that comes our way does not necessarily has to be expressed or necessarily has to be executed. That's why I tell a lot of my mentees, I have a bunch of mentees, and I tell them, I said, as a young person coming up in business, you're going to have amazing ideas come to you. Many of them are just pure distractions. You don't have to jump into every single thing that comes into your head, because I tell you, right, if you move from A to B because it looks like B seems to be doing well, you're not seeing the other side of it that is not doing well. And if it looks like A is not exactly doing well, you haven't paid it enough attention to know the capacity of what it would give you back. So that was what happened to me, because while I was marketing Okwa, I was also marketing that I was running interview. I was using my time to source for entrepreneurs to interview. I was going to their houses. At this time, I wasn't paying attention to Phronesis Foods. So we got our first international customer in New York for Phronesis Foods. As I was doing the Okwa business, I was doing the media business. Now, one of my key errors, of course, Phronesis Foods failed after 2 years, right? That's the summary of it all. Between 2016 and early 2018, we flopped. As at the time, I was interviewing Emeka in 2017, we were struggling, but I mean, it was, I called it, every business was going through challenges, but mine was avoidable, but I didn't know. Remember, I said I didn't know anything. I was just doing what was in my head. So we flopped Phronesis Foods after 2 years. I count that 2 years as our business modeling stage, the years where we sampled this idea and tried to understand the market and trying to know whether it would work or would it not work. So we flopped. By the time we were failing in 2 years, I had lost at least 2 point something million, nothing less than that. And these were my errors. I was starting up 2 young things at the same time. Phronesis Foods was making revenue. I wouldn't know about profit, but we were making revenue. But I was using the money from the revenue to fund my media interests. That's why I told you that it's not, I said earlier on that it's not every interest that comes to you comes from God. When the idea for Okwa business came, God knew I was going to make revenue or profit. But then the devil also came with his own interesting idea, something that also interests me. Because if he leave me to choose between the both, actually, I would choose the media path, and I would leave Phronesis Foods. Because the media part looked like something that interests me. And I did say earlier on that anytime the devil wants to get your attention, he gets your attention with something that interests you. Because if it's something that doesn't interest you, you obviously know it wouldn't get your attention, right? So I moved. So when we failed after 2 years, I was depressed and I took a break from talking about Phronesis Foods on Facebook. That was as at 2018. I took a break. I was depressed. I was mourning my father who died as at 2017. A whole lot was going on with me that I didn't know how to take care of them. But one of the things I did while Phronesis was failing within that 2 years was I was taking stock. Remember, I said I know how to listen, and that listen also includes listening to myself, paying attention to myself, what was happening, and being present at that time to be able to take note of what's going on and find a solution, or look for a way to find a solution. So while we were failing, I took note of the errors. One of the things that we did was poor storage, right? And that poor storage was avoidable. Another error that I made was I didn't take advantage of my mother's over 30 years of experience in that business, in running Okwa, right? Because if I had gone back to my mother, someone who had been running this business before I came into it, the errors of running a loss because of poor storage would have been avoided. The errors of running a loss because of pricing would have been avoided, right? So these two. And then I had bad accounting skills. I usually was not the person that has interest in maths, right? So I understood that this was bad. So one of the things I did while we were failing, I think sometime early 2018, was I reached out to someone I had met on Facebook. His name is Victor. Victor, I used to have a Facebook page where people would, I think I called it Let's Talk Entrepreneurship Facebook page. And I would usually invite people to come and talk about different things regarding entrepreneurship. So I met Victor. Victor came to talk about accounting and tax for SMEs. So I reached out to Victor and I humbled myself. See, because you see, one of the things that a lot of young people don't know how to do is to offer themselves to people that are younger than them to learn. I am a student of learning. I am a student of learning. So I went to Victor, I humbled myself, and I said, see, Victor, I was running so and so business and we flopped, and these were my errors. Can you step in to be our accountant? I know you're running 9 to 5, but can you step in and do whatever you can? I don't mind giving you shares when the company picks up. I made promise of shares, even though I didn't know where the company was going to go. And I said, I also don't mind paying you the same salary as the CEO of a company when the business picks up. But I know that if I'm going to do this business well, I need people that are skilled in the areas that I am not skilled in. You are good with business accounting. Can you help me out? Victor said, I called him. We sat in a fast food restaurant and we had a meeting. He said I should give him time to think about it. So he thought about it and he sent me a message. And then he said, I do 9 to 5. So you will not be able to see me in the office in person, but I can offer you anything I can offer you. So yes, I am on board your team. So that was me trying to make room for growth, even while I was failing and depressed. And then I was in Abuja for a project in the middle of 2018. A Facebook friend of mine sent me a flyer for a certain grant that an NGO is giving for small businesses. They wanted to give 10 small businesses 100,000 naira each. That's 1 million total. So I looked at it. I said, a business that I started with 100,000, 120K, and I lost over 2 million naira plus. How do I get back to it with 100,000 naira? What's 100,000 naira going to do for me? So I said, okay. I just applied for it without thinking they were going to call me. So when we went through the different stages of the grant application, the organizers insisted that we are going to come in for a live pitch. I already knew that I was not good with business maths. I called Victor. I said, you know what? This is what these people are saying. This is what I applied for. Now, one of the things we did, see, it's a different thing to be making errors. I mean, there is a part of making errors. You know you're making errors. There is also the part of making room for growth, even while you know you're making errors. One of the things I did while we were failing and making all those errors is I went ahead and registered Phronesis Foods as a limited liability company. Because remember, I said I know how to listen to myself. So I knew that I was making errors and I was willing to improve. So I went ahead and I told myself, I said, I have not done everything I needed that would make this business grow. So I needed to sit down myself, review everything that is going on with me, with Phronesis Foods, with the Let's Talk Entrepreneurship talk show, and ask myself, what do I have to let go so that the other one will grow? And I knew that Let's Talk Entrepreneurship was not giving me money. It was taking from me. So strategizing for it to give me money was not I did try to strategize for it to give me money, but it wasn't forthcoming. But this one was a case of me buying products, packaging it, and selling it and making money, right? I mean, that was the idea of how we started Phronesis. We just get dried okwa, sort it out, ensure that there is no stone, no sand, because those were the market gaps. 3 market gaps are identified. Customers were eating stones in their okwa. It's like buying beans and eating stone. We needed to solve that. We needed to make it available because it's a seasonal food product. Currently, now that this is December period, you will not find okwa in the market. So we needed to build a storage process so that people can have okwa in and out of season. At least these 2 key market gap was what God wanted me to fulfill with okwa at the initial stage. But sometimes we have coconut head. I decided to dabble into another thing. So I needed to sit down. So by the time I sat down, I reviewed myself. I knew where I was lacking and I knew where I needed to make an error, even though inside all the depression and the headache I was giving myself. So what eventually happens was I sat down, made all of this review, and told myself, I said, I'm putting a hold on Let's Talk Entrepreneurship. I stopped interviewing people. I stopped going to anywhere because it got to a point. I had a PA, I had a camera person, I had who else? I think maybe a stylist. I didn't have a stylist. I think I was borrowing clothes or something. Oh shit. The things that some of us have had to do so that we can match up, or so that we can try to become somebody that people can relate with, right? I don't think that it's a whole lot. I tell you, it's a whole lot. But when I sat down and I reviewed myself and I told myself that this is not working, I knew it was time to make changes. So when this grant, when I stopped the talk show, it was time to now focus on Phronesis Foods. I went back to review all the errors. One, I called my mother. I said, Mommy, this is what has happened though. The business has flopped. So I want to start afresh. I said, we lost so amount of product because of poor storage. She was angry. And then she blamed me for not asking her. And then I told her about our pricing model. And she told me the kind of pricing model we should do. You see, my mother is not school, 4 walls of university kind of graduate, right? So I didn't think that she had the knowledge I needed. But when I was ready to learn, she was still the one that taught me every single thing. The pricing model we're using, the storage process we're using, the buying process we're using. She taught me. That single experience changed my life and taught me never to underrate people, whether they are educated or uneducated. I was naturally not a rude person. And then we appeared for this pitch. I called Victor, who is now our ad hoc accountant. I said, we have a pitch to attend. We're going to split the responsibilities. I don't know business numbers that much. So I'm going to focus on talking about the products, and you, my team member, will focus on talking about our figures, our numbers, our financials. We prepared our pitch. They sent it ahead of time. On the day of the pitch competition, my company appeared with it as a team. The rest came individual. The other founders came individual. So we walked in, and the panelists were looking at us. Why are you two? I said, well, we are both in the business. I will be talking about our products, everything about the products, and Victor is going to be talking about everything about our financials. They said, okay, we went ahead, we did our thing. Luckily for us, or as God will have it, we won the 100,000 naira grant. That became the capital. Don't forget that we had lost everything. We are starting afresh now. When we won the grant, the organizers insisted that they must pay it inside business account. Remember that prior to this time, part of my errors was running the business with my personal account. So that helped me. They are insisting on paying it into a business account, helped me. We now went ahead to open an official business account, and the money was paid into that account. Now you would think the distraction has ended. When I came back into business and announced that we are back in Okwa business, so I started advertising again on Facebook. We started having customers ask us, don't you sell cooked Okwa? From asking for cooked Okwa, people started asking for cooked bowls of soup, cooked bowls of stew. And I actually went out of my way to take orders for cooked bowls of soup and stew. And one day, I spent the entire day cooking 2.5 liters of banga ofaku. When I was done, called the delivery guy, he delivered to the customer. At the end of the day, like I would usually do, as my personal culture would, at the end of the day, I was about to retire to bed. I was trying to review all the activities I had during the day. And I realized that I spent the entire day in the kitchen cooking 2.5 liters of ofaku. And I went back to God. And I said, Father, is this how I'm going to blow? He's like, 2.5. I didn't think there was nothing wrong with that. Again, there's nothing wrong with that idea. There's nothing wrong with that business. Everything is wrong with me doing it at that time. It was not my calling. It was not what I was called to do. I was called to do dried okwa business. At least at that time, dried okwa business. See, the Bible talked about the sons of Issachar. They say they understood times and seasons. You must, as a young entrepreneur, as a young person trying to find your way in life, understand times and seasons. Otherwise, you're going to continue to find yourself in places where you're not supposed to be. Imagine the times I wasted, the resources I wasted, just because my attentions kept shifting into other things that also looked lucrative, but they were not for me. The idea to run Okwa Kitchen, we launched Okwa Kitchen in March this year, but the idea to run Okwa Kitchen first came in 2019. So when I reviewed my day on this particular day, God told me, he said, I didn't call you to cook bowls of soup and stew, so you need to go back to what I called you to do. I came back on Facebook after 1 month of nearly wasting 100,000 naira capital. Because now I have bought food ingredients, bought takeaway plates, bought takeaway spoons, serviettes, rubber bands, everything ready to start. I had to come back on Facebook, and at that time I think our startup capital was really about 45 or 50K from this 100,000 naira grant. I came back on Facebook and said, guys, see, God did not call me to do cooked okwa, at least cooked food, not now. If we at any point in time decide to go into cooked food in the future, you guys will be the first to know. But right now, I need to focus on what God called me to do. So I knocked it up immediately, and I focused on marketing dried okwa. And guess what? See, when he gives the word, he gives the resources, he gives the people, he gives the customers, he gives you everything. That's who God is. He doesn't give you A and don't give you B. When he gives you the vision, you only have to trust him enough by focusing and not getting distracted. But everything you would require to run that vision, he would give you. At every point in time, he would continue to give it to you. He won't give you everything at once. When you need this, and it looks like that's what that business needs at that time, he will give it to you. So 2018 finished. Immediately we got into 2019. Business took a whole new turn. First of all, we got this new retailer in Scotland. And then we got a retailer in London. People are seeing our brand on IG and they're saying, I want to sell your product in London. I want to sell your product in Scotland. And then the big one came. Actually, Emeka Nobis bought our products in 2019 and he wrote a review like he would write any review, literally like any customer that enjoyed a good product to write any review. Posted the review on Facebook, posted on IG, and someone on IG saw it and reached out to me, someone in USA, and reached out to me and said, hey, I saw your product on Emeka Nobis post. At that time, I'm getting wiser. I'm telling myself to stay. So I set a goal of what we're going to do in 2019 business year. I said, this is what we're going to do first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. This is how much we're going to do, At that time, I was the only staff. And I mean, there is Victor, that is our accountant, who also was working 9 to 5 at that time. And then this young man reaches out to me and said, I want to be a distributor of your product in the United States. And I looked at it and said, okay, cool. Before I knew what was happening, we closed that deal in less than 3 hours. And that was the biggest deal that was at that time. That was $500,000. He bought products worth $500,000 within 24 hours of seeing our product on a satisfied customer's review on social media. One of the things, our growth as a company, Phronesis Foods' growth as a company, is made possible because of social media. I don't know if we would have grown because we didn't have the funds to do the traditional advertising. And it was only me. There was just so much only me could do per time. So I continue to show up on social media, and showing up on social media is part of what helped us, what has helped our growth. And I mean, look where we are now. It's been from in 20 by the end of 2019 business year, that our 100,000 naira had given us, I think about 1.5 million naira in revenue. Was it 1.5 or 1.7 million naira in revenue? By the end of 2020 business year, we had tripled that money. By the end of 2021, same thing. By the end of 2022. So what has happened over time is I have had challenges running the business. But at every point in time, I feel stuck. I don't say every time I don't say when I get stuck. There are two different things. Every time I feel stuck, because it's a feeling, it will pass if you understand that it is a feeling. Every time I feel stuck, I go back. I go back a bit and I try to review what's working, what's not working. I have had days where my head was full and I felt like shutting the business down. But every single time I have tried to make that move, God suddenly sent someone from somewhere. In fact, that same 2019, we lost that same distributor we got from US. We lost that distributor because of customs issues. There was so much we didn't know about customs and customs issues. So I made a move to close the business. The morning of the day I was going to make a public post that I was going to close the business, God sent me Genoma. You see why I said that when he gives you vision, he gives it to people. So he continues to bring in the resources and the people when you need them, not when you don't need them. So he sent me Genoma. And Genoma came and said, I wasn't close to her at that time. She just said, hey, Chichi Eriobu, how are you doing? You've been crossing my mind. Is anything going on with you? And I'm like, who is this woman? And I wasn't willing to share because I considered her a stranger. And she insisted that something is going on with me and I needed to share. And I went on to share. Part of that is why we didn't shut the business. And in 2020, we also had challenging business year, but I can't tell you for a fact that there is no year we have not, I personally as the founder and CEO of the business have not had a challenging year. However, in 2021, I began to do something crazy. I stepped out of my comfort zone. First, in 2021, I told myself, I said, if this business is going to grow, I need to bring in people. We did our first official recruiting in 2021, and guess what? We recruited 4 people at the same time. Now, this is how it happened. I had attended the Next Titan in 2020. And in the Next Titan is an entrepreneurial exhibition for young entrepreneurs. So there's something that usually happen every week. We are giving new tasks, and in the task, we are in teams, right? These tasks are business related tasks. So I usually have 48 hours to 72 hours to deliver on any task. So when there is a task, we split ourselves into 2 groups. the group are made up of teams. And then I began to ask myself, what did I take out from the next slide? And I took out the importance of team building. Because from January 2020, from December, actually, I had a young man that was working with me, almost unofficial because there was no employment letter. But Sam was good. Sam helped me a lot to off-take some responsibilities. And then I began to think big. Everything changed when I began 2021. I began to think, how can we get a separate office space? I began to think, how can we add more new products? I mean, by the way, in 2020, we launched our own brand of roasted okwa snack. Before we launched it, we've been having a few customers ask for it, but it wasn't time. When I knew it was time to launch it in 2020 was because of COVID. The world looked like it was coming to an end, and a lot of people was looking at food products that they could easily eat, ready to eat food product that they could easily eat. Let me just eat this one. If the world is coming to an end, the world should just come to an end. So immediately we launched the roasted okwa snack. The market picked it up. Our branding was good. I started talking about it months before we eventually launched. This is one of the strategies that always work. Before we launch any product or do something new, I start talking about it. I start warming, preparing the minds of the buyers before the product will get into the market. So immediately the roasted okwa snack got into the market, they picked it up. So now we have two different products from okwa as raw material. We have the dried okwa and then we have the roasted okwa snack. And then I began to research what has not been done with okwa that we can do. We need to do something that separates us from the entire market. Because immediately after we launched roasted okwa snack, 1 month later, I saw that someone launched exactly the same thing. The same two different packaging materials, just different design. Even their label designs were like our own, just different colors of label design. So one thing that helped me was I knew there was competitors, but I was conscious enough to not stay in their face. By in their face, no, not let them stay in my face. So I go and check them out. I read everything about them. I close the page. I move on. And it helps me to know who is copying who. I see something they are doing. I know somebody sets. I know people who are selling 1.5 kg pack of dried okwa. They didn't know how we came about it. I was the one that came about that pack size, right? So keeping my competitors in front of me helped me know, am I the one copying them or are they the one copying me? So bulk of the time I knew, because a lot of the ideas that we have executed running Phronesis Foods came from a place of prayer. I cannot even pretend that it was me or it was one business school or it was one business mentor. No, more than 70 to 80% of what we're executing I get from a place of prayer. A lot of times God just basically uses another person to confirm something he has already told me or shown me. So it's not me, it's God. Remember, from beginning, from how the idea for the business came to every single time I had to go back to the drawing board, it's me going back to God to ask him to continue to guide me. So in 2021, we employed 4 people. It seemed like we were not going to survive it. Today we are 9 team members. Every month we're paying salaries to these people. We have not shut down. And we have almost 100 contract staff in the eastern part of Nigeria, in Imo State, in Enugu State, in Anambra State, the places where we're sourcing raw materials from. We have assessed opportunities that's helped us to grow. I mean, we are at the point where we're looking for $500,000 funding. So it's been an interesting journey for me. And a lot of times, maybe during my birthdays or when people want to celebrate me, they will say, today I'm celebrating the queen of consistency. I laugh because somehow I can relate. Consistency has been, when you mention Chichi, you mention consistency, because irrespective of what was going on with me, I have continued to show up. When my dad died in 2017 and I felt like I couldn't cope, my younger brother, which was the one we buried last year, I remember him sitting me down to say, see, there's a lot of people whose destinies are relying on you. So you cannot shut down. You cannot afford to shut down. So you have to continue to show up, which is why after we buried my brother last year, I couldn't probably mourn. The young man was worrying me and telling me to show up. There is a lot of people waiting for me to show up. So yeah, but it's not exactly about the people. It is the fact that in showing up, I have helped myself and the vision that God has given me to continue to be in the face of the people. And what happens when I continue to be in the face of the people, or our brand continues to be in the face of the people, is that of a necessity, they are going to continue to mention you or to think about you when the idea for what you're building comes to their mind. People have come to me to say they've read about me talking about my business so much. Now they are seeing me in their dreams and they are dreaming about Ukwa. And so we wanted to launch the Ukwa Kitchen last year, and then I lost my brother, and then we put it on hold because a whole lot of that idea was dependent on me, and I was not mentally ready to do it. And then after I was in Dubai, sponsored by the federal government for a food event, Dubai Expo, in February this year, I had experiences with other founders of food businesses, both within Nigeria and outside of Nigeria. And I came back and I told my people, I said, it's time to do something. We started back our Ukwa Kitchen, talking about our Ukwa Kitchen. And immediately, the day I talked about our launching Ukwa Kitchen publicly on Facebook, a lot of people, you see the advantage with talking about something before you launched out is the fact that you prepare the minds of the market. We used the market to launch the products. So we began to talk about Ukwa Kitchen. We made it a big deal. We made it like the next best thing after anything. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine over the phone, and I told her, I said, see, babe, this is what we're going to do. I want to start an Ukwa Kitchen. And this is how I want to do it. And she said, okay, good. How much is your startup capital? I said, I've done everything, maybe 170K, 200K. She said, you know what? Okay, no problem. She didn't tell me she was going to send me money. But within 24 hours, my girlfriend, not my girlfriend, my best friend, she sent me the entire startup capital we needed to start Ukwa Kitchen. But remember, it was a new idea. So I always ensure that the money we're using to start up is small, so that if we're making any mistake, we're not losing so much resources. So I've constantly said this, right? Too much money in a business does not guarantee the success of the business. Too much money in a venture does not guarantee that it will do well. You will find small businesses that are doing well with limited resources. Find the ones that has all the resources, all the monies, have raised funding, and they are struggling. You need to go into their processes to know that they are struggling. So I already knew that bunch of money, large sum of money inside a business does not guarantee that business is doing well. What guarantees the success of a business is in their processes. We introduced, for our dried ukwa, we introduced what we call them 5-stage selection process. Because remember that the market gap I identified at the beginning was stones, customer complaints, blah, blah, blah. So we introduced something to eliminate the customer complaint. That 5-stage processes where selection processes happen at different points in time until at the point of packaging, selection process is also happening. That helped us to knock off. I mean, I don't remember the last time we had customer complaint for our dried okwa, and they said they saw sand or stone. It's literally maybe 9 out of 10 customer, maybe one out of 300, 400 customers or packs. 1 out of 400 to 500 customers. I'm not even lying. The last time we did, I think that was sometime last year, and we took care of it immediately. And we took care of the customer, and we went back. So every single time we had a customer complaint, we go back to the team that worked it. We improve the processes, we change everything, we come back better. So these are the things that grows business. Another thing that guarantees the success of business is customer satisfaction. So one of the things that has helped our growth as a company is customer service. My God, I learned that if as an individual, I go to a place and they deal me a shitty customer service, right? And I don't complain, the chances that I would deal someone else a shitty customer service is high. That's why we always encourage our customers. Please, if you have bad experience with our product or with our processes or at the point of sale, please refer back to us. We always, the reason why we are still in business is because of our customers. They have contributed to help our growth. And it's also part of why what we're doing tomorrow as a company is a big deal. Tomorrow we're celebrating our 4-year anniversary and our business growth, because this year Not only that, I was featured in Dubai Expo, courtesy of the federal government of Nigeria. We have launched an Okwa kitchen that is doing well on its own, considering the fact that it is a new brand. And our products, we assessed our NAFDAC within 1 month in November last year, courtesy of a friend of mine. We have FDA license that will help us sell in the United States. We have a bunch of licenses that we didn't have 2 years back. Many of them, we assessed them this year. We've gathered opportunities. We have, at least this year, we have invested nothing less than $10,000 to $15,000 in equipment, and we haven't even started. We were not there last year. We were not there last year. So we have made a lot of progress this year. We have people on the team that I didn't know that we were going to be able to afford them. We have members of the board of advisory that I don't know. So much has happened. And this so much is hinged on the fact that I understood that if this business has to grow, I had to give it attention. And like I said, one of the scriptures that guided me was, I am not sure if it's First Chronicles or Second Chronicles, but it was the story of David in the Bible. The Bible talked about when David became king. I will leave out all the parts where David struggled, but the Bible talked about when David became king. The Bible said that daily God was adding to David such as should be added to him. If you read that chapter detailed, it was talking about captains of armies were coming to submit to David. They were coming with their armies, with the armies that they were controlling. They were coming with their guns, their arrows, their machetes, their weapons to submit to serve David. That was a scripture that the Holy Ghost gave me many years back. And it was just beginning to happen in my life now. Because what I am telling you is that people have literally come to me with their resources and said, Chichi, I'm supporting what you're building with these resources. I'm bringing this, I'm bringing that. That is made possible because I am standing on the path that God has called for me. And at every point in time that I have tried to deviate, I always don't make progress in that other thing that I try to go into. It doesn't matter if all the people into it are making progress. It doesn't matter if I copy and paste their processes, their strategies. Once I try to do it, I tried it with crypto. I mean, I'm not talking about, there's nothing wrong with crypto, right? But when I tried to do crypto, because plenty of people were talking about making money in crypto, doing this and doing that, I went into it and I lost money. And I just carried my L and moved back to what God has called me to do. So at every point in time, I have tried to focus on my path. And that has contributed to where I am or where our company is today. So, guys, thank you so much. And thank you, Emeka.
Hi, my name is Chichi Eriobu, founder and CEO of Phronesis Foods. Phronesis Foods is a food processing and packaging company located in Lagos, Anambra, and Imo State. We provide food processing chains that manages local food waste in the rural communities, maximizing the local raw materials by creating new food product lines from them, while directly creating employment opportunities for the women and youth in those communities. I am applying for the MSME Award in Agriculture. We are currently processing ukwa, known as African breadfruit in English. Ukwa is sourced from the eastern Nigeria. First, the heads are allowed to ferment. Once fermented, we extract the seeds, wash them near riverbanks and parboil them. After parboiling, we use milling machine to dehusk the seeds, removing the husks from the seeds. Once dehusked, we do seed by seed selection. This is usually done manually using trays. And then we sun dry the seeds, or we use dehydrating machine to dry the seeds to zero moisture content before packaging them as dried okwa or milling them further for pound production. So far, we have employed 157 women and youth in those communities and 10 full-time staff. Our products are currently in 17 retail stores in Lagos State, Australia, London, Scotland, and Ghana. Our target is to employ 500 women and youths by 2025 and increase our workforce from 10 to 50. We are hoping that being on the platform of National MSME Award will help us achieve this vision. Thank you.
Chichi, this is one of the disadvantages of trying to interview someone who also does interviews. I mean, you have gone on and on and on like a pastor delivering a sermon, and you have delivered everything inside of the sermon. I don't think I have any question to ask you anymore.
You must have a question.
And all the questions that I wrote down, you started attacking each one of them one after the other.
Oh my God.
I think I'm done. Anyway, the only question I have now, maybe two questions basically, will be I've seen you yesterday on Facebook. I don't know if on social media if you saw that, about somebody who went to a bank, FCMB, and took a picture of a woman who is supposed to be attending to the customers, but then she was buying something from a malam. And I think one of the customers took a picture of the woman and put it out online. And people were like, the woman there to be fired. And Nigerians were on both sides of the divide. So I'm saying, you guys should overdo, you guys are too holy. And the other side, people were saying, fire her is a business concern and all that. I know in your business, from time to time, I've seen you share very painful, sad stories about people who are supposed to do delivery. And I tell you, my wife is also, my wife does pap, and we have had our sad stories. So she does like a bucket of pap and a custard bucket of pap, and she sends it to the park, to the delivery company, and tells them, this is pap, this is going to spoil if you don't deliver it, and so don't keep it, go and do the, and they say, madam, it's okay, we'll do it. And then you find out that they refuse to do that, keep our pap, and then by morning it's spoiled. And I can tell you the absolute truth that most of the time when she comes back crying to me what has happened, I still bring her my money to give her to go and redo the pap and go and deliver to the customer. I mean, we have had many cases. Many cases. At some point, we wanted to buy bikes for ourselves, for the company, but then our governor imposed the ban on bikes, and everybody just had to go back and reassess the situation again. And I've seen you from time to time also mention about delivery people, how they have messed up your deliveries, how they have, the key problem most times, some of our businesses like yours experience is logistics, delivery issue.
Yes.
So I want you to tell us what your challenges have been and how you have been able to surmount in two key areas in terms of delivery, logistics issues, and then staffing, the right kind of staff to work with you, work with the vision and all that. So that's one question that I want you to deal with, please.
Okay. I would start with the logistics issues first. I would tell you that we struggled a lot when it comes to logistics, and this morning when you were writing, I read a post by Emeka where he was talking about business processes, or talking about processes, right? As an entrepreneur, like the founder of the business, your key responsibility is making decisions, improving your processes. Sometimes people think that when you employ people and they're doing the work, then what is the CEO now doing? The CEO is one that sees what every other person is not seeing, makes decisions, hard decisions, easy decisions, whichever it is. There is something that happened in 2020 when we were partnering with FedEx. So one of the things we did earlier on, sometime in 2020, was to go into partnership with logistics companies. We started with Lagos. So we go to FedEx and say, okay, we run to so and so kind of business. Can you assign a bike to us? So when we get orders, your delivery guy would deliver it to us. I think they gave us different rates, and then we eventually decided that, okay, we may not be able to work with them assigning a bike to us, but however, we can still do same day delivery. We log on to their platform, load our wallet. When we get an order, we enter the details of the order, the quantity of the order, the name of the customer, delivery details, amount, the rest of that. And then they would pick it up from the back end and send a right send a rider that is within our vicinity to come and pick up and do delivery. At a point, we were doing same day delivery. At a point, we were doing next day delivery. Then we had an issue at one point in time. A customer's order was not delivered. It was supposed to be 24 hours delivery. The delivery guy, and because we are dealing with food products, right? And we didn't yet have insurance. We were also very careful because it's food products. Even though dried okra at that time, it was not ready to eat product. So we have a policy in-house. We have a policy that says if this product goes out to be delivered to a customer, if it's a product that is supposed to be delivered within 24 hours, within Lagos delivery, and it's supposed to get to a customer, and within 24 hours it didn't get to a customer, we have a grace period that it must get to a customer. If it doesn't get to a customer at that time, we recall it. Because also in business, we're also trying to protect ourselves as a company. So this guy picks up product, it didn't get delivered to customer. 24 hours has passed. We're calling the customer is angry. They said the delivery guy had an accident or something. If he had an accident, has his company not picked him up? What do we do? At the end of the day, 48 hours passed, right? I kept relaying to our account manager with FedEx. At the end of the day, we say, you know what? You guys will pay for the product. We will go ahead and use an independent delivery company to dispatch. And we use an independent delivery company and dispatch the customer. And we now bore the cost of doing this, right? Now, we're now waiting for these FedEx guys to return back. Before we even did FedEx, we're also having issues with using other random delivery companies. Now, at a point, FedEx was not working. We stopped using FedEx. We tried different delivery companies. Again, our own was not just logistics. Our own was also finding something that is affordable that customers can pay. Because at that time, customers could still not buy. Our products was not in any retail store. So it was not even a case of, okay, they can't buy from us. They can buy from any of the stores that we are stocking. So it was a case of all the sales were happening directly from us, directly to the customers. So when we worked with FedEx for some months, I don't remember some of the logistics companies that we worked with. Some of them, their plans were not working with us because we also needed something that can really, our customers can afford, because we were having sales, but the cost of delivery we're leaving money on the table because of the cost of delivery. That continued to happen until about, 2021. In 2021, I began to dream of us owning our. So you see, the thing is, I think that the background to this is that the decision that a founder or a business or a company makes has to match whatever level they are or whatever level they are aiming at. After we're having these issues with logistics companies, we're having mistrust with our customers and the rest of that, we decided, okay, maybe it's time for us to get our own delivery bike. But that was not also simple. When we started thinking of our own delivery bike, there was now the same Lagos issues similar to what you guys are experiencing in Port Harcourt with delivery bike. There were so many licenses. There were so many bodies we need to identify with, because they were not seeing us as an independent company that has their own delivery bike to do their own in-house delivery. They were seeing us as a logistics company trying to make money from logistics. But we just wanted to be able to deliver what a customer bought to the doorstep of the customer. So I wouldn't say there was a hard and fast way to it, but I just knew that we continue to try different logistics companies. We continue to try. Let me tell you, there is two logistics we are currently using: our in-house logistics and GoCada. I mean, I know that a lot of people have bad experiences with GoCada, but it hasn't happened with us because we had an understanding. We don't have a signed understanding with them. But I picked up my phone one day and I told him, I said, this is what our company is about. This is what we do. If we're going to use these people, you people have to promise me, not on paper, just over the phone, a customer service. I said, you have to promise me that you guys will not flop us. And there's something we did. We always try to ensure that our customer is not the person calling the logistics company. It is not the responsibility of the customer, after paying you money, to be calling, hello, Mr. Amos, where are you now? I've been waiting for you. No. So we put in processes to ensure that when a customer places an order, the customer deals with us. The customer is not dealing with the logistics company or the rider. The only time the rider has to speak with the customer is, hello, ma, I've gotten to your location. I'm here to deliver. Finish. The rider does not have responsibility to pick up money. The rider does not have any responsibility to harass the customer. We had an issue where a rider harassed a customer recently, and we took care of it immediately. It's the issue of processes. See, logistics is going to be the number one, if not one of the number one challenges of small businesses, right? But constantly trying to find a way to mitigate it, because you're going to be in business for a long time. You can't give up easily, right? So when we started doing interstate outside of Lagos, not even outside the country now, outside of Lagos logistics, right? We also have a different kind of policy. We know if we're sending a product to Abuja, how long is it supposed to be on the road before it gets to Abuja? If we're sending a product to Ibadan, how many hours is it supposed to be on the road before it gets to Ibadan? And at every point in time, we also ensure that we are communicating the customer and the customer understands the risks. So if we are delivering a product to, say, Abuja, and somehow something happens on the road, and it's a product that's supposed to take 2 days to get to Abuja, now it's taking 3 days, we are communicating to the customer ahead of time, because once it leaves our office, we are on top of the matter to ensure that the customer is not the one calling us to know how far. We are the one giving feedback to the customer. This is where your product is at this time. This is where it should be. And the company, we try to, okay, so one of the things we did was, we don't do give to driver and at the driver. No, we go through logistics channels. If we're dealing with GIG, we go through GIG logistics. If we're dealing with GEO, we go through GEO logistics. We don't do handover to driver, and because you see, you can do handover to driver when you are bringing in your supplies. Is a large sum, because I mean, his business always has to find a way to save money. So when we're bringing in large bulk of supplies, product that we have processed already in the communities, and now we need to do packaging, we hand over. We have specific drivers that we're already working with in different cities. So these drivers already understands time and urgency and speed. So we work out our plan for pickup in the communities to tally with when these drivers are driving down to Lagos, because Lagos office is where we do all the packaging. We do all the production process in the east, because that's where our raw materials are. We are sourcing raw materials. So we ensure that we are not working with different drivers who do not understand what we are carrying. So, for instance, the driver we're working with in one of the communities from Imo State, right? He knows his Okwa. Once he picks up our products, he doesn't hand over to anyone. Any day he picks up and somehow his vehicle spoils and it happens that he's not driving to Lagos, he won't hand over the product to another driver. Because there's a chance that that driver does not understand that what he's carrying is product that someone is selling, and handling it is poor. Remember that we also have to be able to guarantee food safety. We are handling food products. So this is our own way of tracing the handling of the product from the point of production to the point where it has to get to the customer. So it's just beyond logistics. It's logistics and food traceability and food monitoring, food quality monitoring, and the rest of that. Because you see, if the customer picks up our product and have a bad experience with it, it will not go to the logistics company. He's going to come to us. So for us, it was a case of constantly trying to find. When we launched Okwa Kitchen, we're using a particular logistics company. What they were charging us didn't make sense. Until one day I told myself, I said, you know what, let's try Go-Kart. Because in our head, we were thinking that Go-Kart was going to be costly. Until we started using them, we realized that they are one of the most affordable inside all the logistics that we have used. And then, because our bike documents and registration had issues, we are now adding our own bike. The advantage with having your own in-house logistics company is that you help your customers save money. Yeah, you help your customer, because if other logistics company are charging 3K to a particular location within Lagos, we can afford to charge 2.5 because it's our own bike. And yes, it can still get the money to pay the rider from that bike, get the money to service, you can still get everything. Because at that point, we're not just thinking of profit. Yeah. With respect to team building, I've had my own share. I'm still having my own share with respect to that. And I can say for a fact that it wasn't easy. I mean, this year alone, I have cried many nights Because today you hire someone, the person has promises, you are seeing the future with this person, and 1 month later, the person just pulls out. And you know, one thing with young people is they don't tell you, we have a policy. Also, you see, I'm talking about policies a lot because I am building a global business. If you are building a global business, if you're going to build something that is bigger than you have to have processes and documented processes and policies, not just something that is in your head. So we have a documented policy that said before you leave our company, you must tell us 1 month ahead so that we can use that 1 month to maybe look for someone to replace you, do handover and do all of that. I've had people send me a message over WhatsApp that they are leaving, like they've left though. That's a message over WhatsApp, and this person has loads of responsibilities that she was handling before she leaves, and now she leaves us in the middle of work, and we are scrambling to try to. So initially, we were employing graduates, fresh graduates. We're not looking for people with 5 years experience. You can be fresh graduate, just be willing and hungry to learn. You don't have to have experience. Me, I have plenty of experience because everything everyone is coming to do in our company, I have done it as an individual for about 3 years before we employed anybody to begin with. So I basically understand every single thing. I just need someone who is willing to learn and teach the person and groom the person to do that. So imagine investing in someone, after 3 months, the person pulls out. Imagine it. But I would rather get someone that is not so experienced and teaching the person to do the job than get someone who is supposedly experienced and you're struggling with the person. So far for us, we've been employing fresh graduates and interns. In fact, this year, next year, we're also going to be taking in new intern in January. We're taking in at least 2 or 3 new interns in January. They are working in, I mean, the way we bring in interns is you're not working in this, of course, we attach them to specific departments, but we open them up to work in multiple departments to switch so that they can gather experiences. If at the end of 3 months internship, you think you can stay with the company, we'll review your progress and then give you a proper offer letter and, you know, pay you proper salary. Yeah. But one of the things we have done this year, we have used interns, and we are going to be using interns more because we are a young company, right? We're not spending money to take in interns, but we're spending money to take in graduates, interview them, invest in teaching them, and they are young people, right? They leave all the time. I had to come to the fact that it has nothing to do with me because at the point it seemed like I was a bad leader. I wasn't a bad leader. I wasn't a bad CEO. I am very flexible. I am very accessible, and I am very firm, right? I can shout this minute because it may be something I have talked about 1,000,000 times, and the next minute we're cool, calm, work is going on, and everybody's producing results, right? And I like to give people, benefit of that. In the case of this woman that you made reference to, Emeka, at the bank, you see, there is, a lot of times I tell founders, please don't take business advices on random people on Facebook. Go and actually look for people who are building businesses, people who are employing and sacking. Those are the people you should listen to, right? Don't take business advice from random people who are on Facebook. Because I tell you, something happened in my office recently where the deep freezer for our Okwa kitchen, the persons responsible forgot to turn it on. And we went home for the weekend. But by the time we were resuming work on Monday, the entire thing in the deep freezer is bad. We had lost tens of hundreds of thousands of naira. And I remember walking into the office on Monday morning and I was shocked. I didn't say anything for 2 hours to anybody. Unlike me, maybe before I would have, what happened? This one, that one, that one. I was quiet for 2 hours. And then I just went into my office and I cried. After I cried, I knew that I can't sack anybody. Because first, the facility manager came in and took responsibility and said she was going to pay for everything. If I allow her to pay for everything, her salary is very small. Her salary will not even cover it, right? It means that most likely she's going to forfeit 2 months' salary to be able to, or 2 or 3 months, 2 months plus salary to be able to pay for it. Now, as a leader in business, you're always caught in between doing the right thing that the business world will expect you to do and doing the thing that your value as a person would want you to do. As a person, it's just money. We can always make this money back. As a business person, it is company running at loss. Somebody has to pay for it. If she pays for it, she has 3 children, and 4 children to cater for. How is she going to do it? So it's not always black and white. It's deeper than that. So you always have to ask yourself, why did this happen? And I took part of that responsibility because that particular day we had a whole lot of work to do. So anybody could afford to make such an error. So the next thing for me will now be, what do we do to ensure that such errors do not happen next time? Is there something we need to fix? Some people made recommendations for fix a certain thing in the office, automatic changeover, so that when they change, so that once electricity comes, the thing can just automatically change over. Now that is processes. Now it's now my responsibility as a leader to improve the processes to ensure that this kind of error doesn't happen next time. So it's deeper than that. It's not simple. I hope this. I mean, so far we are doing interns. We have graduates on the team, yeah, but we're doing both graduates and interns, and it's easier to get an intern to work. Many of them are hungry to learn, actually. And you're a young business. There's nothing you're doing. Actually, there's nothing you're doing with someone that is supposedly experienced, because a lot of times, even experienced people come into a process, they will have to still study your process and understand how it works before they can begin to execute. So it's not better to just get some, because, and for us, it's also a way to empower young people. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Chichi. Thank you. So my final question is the place of mentoring. All right, the place of mentoring in helping. Young individuals. Like as you said, your mom. You felt that your mom wasn't so knowledgeable, and then you overlooked that, and then you went ahead to do what you felt was the best, only for you to return back. So you have said something. You have spoken extensively about how to work with experts along the way. So, in terms of mentoring, guidance for young individuals as they begin to build their businesses and make money legitimately, what's the place? And then your final piece of advice with regards to making money legitimately, the values, the virtues that you have to put in place that can help you to truly make money legitimately in ethical modes, and as they begin to build their businesses, or those who are already building their businesses who want to get to higher levels. So mentoring and the foundational values and ethical elements that they have to put in place with regards to making money legitimately. Thank you.
Mentoring, it's one of the factors that has helped my growth. I did mention earlier on when I was sharing my story that if we haven't shut down Phronesis Foods now, it's because God brought someone my way in 2019. But before Jane came into the picture, I have 3 mentors already, who were also at that time doubling as my members of board of advisory. Initially, they were just mentors, and I will share quickly how I met both. 2 of them, I met them in my church. One is currently a pastor now. He wasn't a pastor when I knew him. One is a deaconess in my church. She also runs a business, and I will tell you what the 4 of them cover. And then the other one is my former boss. So I have 4 members of the board of advisory. We have 4 members of the board of advisory who are also doubling as my mentors, but they were first my mentors. And it was while I was running a program at Lagos Business School in 2019 that our facilitator told us the importance of having board of advisors. And he told us that those that are currently serving as mentors, that we can bring them on board as board of advisors and send them letters. And that was how I officially sent them letters, learned the process, and brought them on board for 3 of them first before Jane as members of board of advisory. But here's the thing, yeah. First, Pastor Yomi has worked in the banking sector for about 12 years, so he has knowledge with respect to financial management, financial advisory. So he brings on board financial advisory to the team, to the company. Ms. Lolade had worked with another food processing and packaging company for about 9-10 years. And what they were doing in that company where she worked is what we're currently doing, food processing and packaging. So she brings on board that knowledge. I remember series of sessions I've had with her where she's talking about food safety processes that we need to put in place. So I think the key thing for me is identifying when it comes to choosing mentors, right? Because a lot of people, these people, all these people that are my mentors, I was one that went to them. The only person I wasn't the one that went to was Jane. The rest, I was the one that went to them. right? And say, I know you have experience in this. I would need your guidance. I would need this. And I'm always the one running after them. They are never the one running after me. Many of you sign up mentorship, and I tell my mentees too, I don't, whether it's paid mentorship or non-paid mentorship, it is your responsibility as a mentee to run after your mentor, because you are the one that know what is pursuing you. When it's pursuing you, you know where you're running towards. So where you're running towards is your mentor, because that's the person that has guidance and experience you require. And your mentor does not necessarily have to have knowledge, expert knowledge in your industry before the person can guide you. The person just has to be someone who is knowledgeable, because you're not just assessing your mentor's knowledge, you're assessing knowledge of other things, of other people through your mentor. I mean, Jane has been my mentor and a member of our board. She has given me access and network to people I probably will never have access and network to. Same with every other of my mentors, right? So mentorship has helped me. Okay, so there's Pastor Yomi, who is experienced with financial. There's Ms. Lolade, who is experienced in the food processing and packaging processes sector. Now there's Mr. Emeka, who is the MD of Point Technology, what many of you know as Point Tech. He was once my boss. I worked in Point Tech in 2012 as a staff, and I made effort to keep that relationship open. So when I got into business, I mean, who best, when we started Phronesis, we were just running retail. I didn't know the difference between wholesale and retail. It was one day I was in a conversation with him and he asked me, "Are you doing wholesale?" I said, "No, sir." He said, "You have to start wholesale. Your money is in wholesale. You can do both wholesale and retail. You have to start wholesale, right? Retail is good. Retail gives you direct access to your customers. You get direct customer feedback, but the bulk of the money in business is in wholesale. So go into wholesale." And that was how we went back to our pricing, restructured, and opened our market up for wholesale, right? And then with respect to values, that has helped me. You see, I won't stop talking about the place of prayer and God. God is my number one factor. God is the factor for me. God is the factor, not just my number one factor. If I say number one factor, it seems like, of course, there are other factors, but everything is hinged on God. God is my number one. In all of the errors, in all of the successes, I always acknowledge the fact that I am a child of God. It is not something I am ashamed of. I remember sharing a story of how I won $10,000 last year. And I remember talking about the fact that during the first and second stage of the pitch competition for that $10,000 I won last year, I remember saying how I removed myself into the restroom where the event was happening to go and speak in tongues and pray and ask God to take over, right? So, I mean, I remember how the business came. I remember every single thing I am. If we don't have time, but every single thing I have, it has been hinged on God. And yes, so there is the place of God. There is also the place of what. I mean, it's two things actually. There is God and there is you. Because it's one thing to have God. It's another thing also be willing to listen, to do the things that He's asking you to do. Okay, so there is a place of God and there is me doing my path. God is not going to do magic. God is going to talk to you through people. You have to be willing to. To be able to you have to be willing to be able to um, open up yourself to assess the people that God is sending your way. Because I was a locked up person in my mind, and if I didn't open up myself, I would have missed when God was sending Jane Oma my way, right? So prayer, the place of God, you have to have the mindset. You have to have the mindset that you are a big deal. See, nobody will consider you a big deal if you do not consider yourself a big deal. I tell you, there are people, when I started selling okwa, there were people that came to me and told me to my face, I said, "Is it okwa you are going to use to blow?" Today, those people are the one sending my link profile to others to come to my profile and see what I'm doing with okwa. Those people are the ones sharing flyers of anything that concerns me. You need to understand that as you grow, right, you matter. You are number one. Yeah, there is God, there is everything, but you first. I took myself first. I shut my eyes to a whole lot. You have to shut your eyes to a whole lot. If you're going to make legitimate, see, There is money in entrepreneurship, but you have to be willing to build. You can't take from something you haven't put in. You have to sow the seeds first. You have to make the sacrifices. You have to make the sacrifices. And for some of you that are wondering, how can I be selling only pap and blow? Who said you cannot sell only pap and blow? And in selling only pap, it may just even be a short-term strategy, because for us, what we are running is a 5-year vision for Phronesis Foods. Get into the food processing industry in 5 years, using a raw material that is not market saturated. And after 5 years, we're going to review our plans. Where are we? Did we achieve this? Are we a household name when it comes to Okwa? Do we need to add extra 2 years? If we have become a household name for Okwa product in 5 years' time, then we would add other food products. See, it's strategic that we are doing just Okwa now. Don't belittle people that are niche. I always say, the smaller your niche, the quicker you can grow. Shift your focus and command your focus to one thing and stay consistent. You will be so shocked what you can achieve if you stay consistent doing one thing for 6 months, for 1 year, for 2 years. That is all you need to blow. Because what happens is the universe begins to see you, people begin to see you, and God begins to command resources to come to you, because now He has seen your focus, He has seen your sacrifices, you're seeing that you're not getting distracted. Just focus on what God has called you to do. And you will be shocked how much you can do with that small resources that you have. It's not about money. Money is good. See, I love money. Money is good. But before money, there is the mindset of realizing that what God has put in your hands has the potential to give you money. Don't run around. Don't run around. Stay in what you have been called you to do. The money will meet you where you are. I'm the one telling you. The money will meet you where you are. People will literally come and say, see, take this $1 million. I've seen what you're building. Take it and put it into what you're building. So, yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you.
Wow.
Chichi, there are questions here. I think we can take them. Oluchi is asking, I would like to know how you factor in your logistics fee into your product price, especially for cooked okwa.
Well, logistics fee, there are a couple of factors to that. I mean, we're using 2 different logistics company. We have our own in-house logistics. We basically study what's happening in the logistics industry, right? If anyone within Lagos, I'll use Lagos for instance, there is a basic fee you cannot go above when you're delivering to maybe Lagos mainland or Lagos Island. You see, because it's not just about the fee, it's about your customers willing to pay, right? Because there are people who will be willing to buy your product, but logistics is what is keeping them from buying it. So we have tried a couple of strategies recently. First of all, we understand what is happening how much base fare an everyday logistics company will charge. We try to stay between that. We don't even try to mark it up, because once you market, imagine buying a plate of okwa porridge, for instance, for 3,000 naira, and we're telling you that the cost of delivering it is also 3,000 naira. That's the same 100%, right? At every point in time, we also try to be sure that the person is not paying the same amount of the cost of product to deliver. So we do a couple of things. We try to explain the reason why the logistics is also 3,000 naira as the cost of the product, and we ask you to maybe buy up to 2 plates, right? Now, we started doing something recently, right? We started saying, okay, if the cost of delivering for maybe somewhere like Lekki, phase 1, is for actually the cost of delivering from Ekbeda, our office is in Ekbeda, and we don't have branches for Okwa Kitchen, for instance. I mean, Okwa Kitchen, other of our Okwa products you can buy in retail stores in Lekki and on the mainland. But Okwa Kitchen, for instance, so when we have a product, an order for Okwa porridge going to Lekki, for instance, and it's 4,000 naira, and it's one order, right? The customer may not buy. Say maybe the person is buying 2 plates of okwa at 6,000 naira, that's 3K, and the cost of delivery is 4,000. The customer may not buy, and that's lucky. So we leave the order, because the customer, we have finished conversation, and this customer did not go ahead to buy. We leave it, but we already has marked this person as a lead potential buyer. And tomorrow we get another order going to VI. and VI is 3K. We discovered that when we are delivering between VI and Lekki, when we are delivering anything from our office to VI, say for instance, VI is 3K or 3.5, Lekki is 4,000. If we combine those two orders, right, we're not even paying up to 7,000. Maybe the cost of delivering to that 4K we deliver to both VI and to Lekki. So what we do is when we have such kind of customers and the sales are not closed properly, it's hanging, we leave it. When we have orders that are going their route, we combine both of them and we do the dispatch. That way we are now billing them lesser delivery fee than what they would have delivered if it was just their order that the delivery guy was delivering. So that has been working for us actually. Another thing you could also try is you could have, if you have different products, or you can map out days that you can deliver your orders to people in different areas. You can say Lagos mainland, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, Lagos Island, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. That way you do order collation and dispatch, and that way you are able to charge your customers lesser delivery fees. I hope that answers your question.
Yes. So another person is asking if you are considering interns. He's asking Nonye Rich if you are spaces for interns.
Of course, there are spaces for interns. A lot of I tell you, I get that question all the time. But the thing is not about, because a lot of times what has happened in my experience is that people come in, who are expecting an office filled with AC. For Christ's sake, I'm running a food processing and packaging company, right? You're not going to come in and meet an environment that looks like a banking hall where there is AC chilling, right? So I am a strategy person, and of course we are considering interns. Actually, yes, we're considering interns. You just have to be willing to learn and to grow. Yeah, that's basically it. The business is growing, and yeah, we're considering. So if you're interested in interning, you can send us a cover letter, actually, not a CV, but you can send us a CV or a resume if you have one. But you can send us your cover letter to info@phronesisfoods.ng or phronesisfoods@gmail.com, these two email addresses, and one of my people will pick it up from there.
Thank you so much. I'm seeing another Elijah Daniels wanting to be an intern. All right, guys. So you have heard what to do.
Just send an email. Send an email to info@phronesisfoods.ng or phronesisfoods@gmail.com, either of these two emails, and we'll pick it up. But that will be from January, because this is the end of the year. We're not taking in anyone end of the year.
All right, guys. So let us enjoy one more time.
Ukwa is the local name for African breadfruit, a nutritional meal that comes in both its original state, a solid food, and as a snack. All products of Phronesis Foods. Interestingly, we place a premium on quality, from peeling to selection to dehydrating to packaging and delivery. The nutritional value of Ukwa includes a great source of energy from over 60 grams of carbohydrates contained in 1 cup of Ukwa. It helps to regulate blood sugar. Ukwa aids digestion. Order any or a combination of our variants today, whether it is the roasted, ready to cook, or Ukwa Poundo, to the tune of 25,000 Naira only, and get a free shipping to your doorstep. For inquiries, please call 0908 583 6587 or log on to www.phronesisfoods.ng.
Okay, thank you so much, Chichi, for this time out. It's been an amazing time. God bless you. I know Vex has left you. You have delivered value for 1 hour 44 minutes. Man, amazing, God.
Wow.
I'm telling you the truth. So please go take something, to get yourself back. God bless you. Thank you so much for this amazing conversation. I'm so excited and happy. I know that a lot of individuals who join us here have gotten value to build their own businesses. I can tell you, building a business is not beans. If you may know, I've started building a real estate company with my younger brother, and I'm building another one. We are into clothes. For those who are
I saw that.
Yeah, so it's not an easy thing. Lots of thinking. What should we do? I mean, this morning I had a conversation with my younger brother. There's something trying to make a decision can be terrifying. I can tell you the truth. we're looking at options. We're saying, should we go this way? If we go this way, it backfires. How are we going to, to I mean, it's not easy at all.
If you
I'm glad that I
overthink
have,
it, you won't start.
yes,
If you
I'm telling
overthink
you.
it, you won't
So
start. I tell you.
a whole lot. The other day when I went to the office, because we have an office now in Owerri, when every other member of staff had gone, I was going around checking things, switching off the switches and all that. I mean, some of them don't understand what goes into setting up the business. So they are leaving the office, they're leaving all the lights on and all that. So I'm going there, putting it off so that
Tell
our
me
bill,
about it.
the light bill can be lower. You get what I mean? So, but many of
Yeah.
them are not seeing our vision. So it's difficult. I mean, but then with your energy, with everything, we keep building. Like now, I'm here after this interview. Now this is Saturday. I'm now thinking, should I go for this event? I have an hour or 2 hours to plan for. It's not something for any kind of human being. It's not something for any rich human being. I mean, well, we will survive and we keep building. Thank you so much for lending your thoughts. Thank you so much for sharing with us your processes without holding back. It's been amazing being here. God bless you and God bless everybody who tuned in. Monday is another beautiful time again to have another session with two other individuals because tomorrow is Sunday. A lot of individuals don't tune in. So we're going to have on Monday, 12 noon at 3 p.m., two amazing individuals on the Young and Earning Summit. It's going to be ending this week, next week that we're coming in. And I'm glad that all the stories that I've been sharing have really dropped quite some good gems in people's lives. So thank you, Chichi. God bless you.
Thank you
I'll be
so
in
much.
Lagos in January, and I look forward to ordering Okwari again. That can
No,
help.
your next order when you're in Lagos is on the house. Your next
Okay.
order, remember, your
I'll,
next order when you're in Lagos is on the house. Okay.
I'll be there
And
in January, and I hope
hopefully by that
see
time,
you.
we are looking at structuring having a branch in one on the island and one on the mainland
Wow,
for our
amazing.
Ukwa kitchen. It's still a takeout. It's still going to be a takeout kitchen. It's not a restaurant, but other than our current office. So we needed to separate it. I mean, because we also need to maintain NAFDAC standard and all of that and all of that. So your next
Yeah.
order whenever you came into Lagos is on the house.
Thank you so much. I look
Thank
forward to
you
that,
so
man.
much. Thank you
Thank you
everyone
so
for
much,
having me.
everyone. Stay well.
Bye.
Enjoy your weekend. God bless you. Goodbye.
Bye.